This is Horace Roberts. He wrongfully served 20 years for a murder he did not commit. During the night shift at a diagnostic testing facility in San Juan Capistrano, California, on April 14, 1998, 32-year-old Terry Cheek failed to arrive at her job. Later, her husband, Hughie Harris Sr., with whom she was locked in a bitter divorce battle, informed police that she left their home in Riverside, California, around 10 p.m. At about midnight, a California Highway Patrol officer saw a Nissan with its flashers blinking parked on the southbound shoulder of Interstate 15, about midway between Cheek's home and her workplace. The truck appeared to be locked and did not seem to have been damaged. The officer left a note saying that it would be towed if it wasn't taken away in 72 hours. Cheek's body was found 4 days later on some rocks near Corona Lake in Riverside County. The Nissan truck had been towed a mile south of where Cheek's body was found. Harris initially stated that when Cheek left for work on the night she was last seen, she was driving a Nissan truck belonging to Horace Roberts, a co-worker at the testing facility with whom Cheek was last seen. Harris was aware of the affair at the time, as was Roberts' wife, Deborah. Shortly, Harris changed his account quickly to say that she left in her Volkswagen convertible. Detectives thought Cheek must have been going to pick up Roberts, who was living in Temecula, if she left the truck. Detectives believed she was going to a park and ride where Roberts regularly picked her up, so they could carpool to work if she was in the Volkswagen. Although the subject of the divorce battle between Cheek and Harris was known to several co-workers, police focused on Roberts as a suspect after he reportedly denied he was having an affair with Cheek. Roberts was questioned about a Loris wristwatch found near Cheek's body, which was at least similar to, if not identical to, the one he once wore. During an interview with police, Roberts said that the watch was not his. He later said that it was his, but said that he hadn't worn it in a while because it didn't work anymore. Roberts later told a third story, stating that he had given the watch to his friend. Several watches that Roberts owned and often wore were turned over to Deborah, including two that were similar in appearance to the Loris watch. On April 27, 1998, Roberts was arrested and charged with second-degree murder. In March 1999, he went to trial in Riverside County Superior Court. The prosecution said that Cheek had been hit over the head and then strangled with a rope near the body. Roberts was convicted mainly because his watch was found next to the murdered victim. Approximately 15 years later, DNA testing would reveal that the watch did not belong to Horace. Instead, it belonged to someone who was close to the victim and had many reasons to kill her or have her killed. The prosecution also presented evidence that Roberts called in sick the night Cheek disappeared and gave inconsistent accounts of where he was and why he needed a ride to work. Even though Cheek picked up Roberts and they drove to work together, Roberts wanted to avoid telling anyone. He was Cheek's boss, and he was afraid he would lose his job if his employer found that he and Cheek were romantically involved while they were still married to other people. It would take 3 full jury trials to get a conviction on Horace. The prosecution focused on Horace's statements, saying that he has told lies to cover up an affair, that he had a truck near the crime scene, and that he had a purse that one of Terry's daughters thought Terry had left with the night before. The prosecution contended that Roberts required a ride because he had killed Cheek and left his truck on the side of the road. Evidence was presented that Cheeks and Roberts had quarreled on March 18th and April 12, 1998. Furthermore, a purse belonging to Cheek was found in Roberts' apartment in Temecula, California, where they had both lived together for some time. One of Cheek's daughters from a previous relationship said that Cheek was carrying the purse the night she was last seen alive. The prosecution used the watch to make their case to the jury. The prosecutor asked during closing argument, what is more compelling than the watch that was found next to the murdered woman's body? There's nothing more compelling than that. When the jury was unable to reach a unanimous verdict in April 1999, a mistrial was declared. The second trial of Roberts was held in May 1999, and another mistrial was declared in June, when the second jury was unable to reach a unanimous verdict. Roberts went to trial for a third time in July 1999. And was convicted of second-degree murder on July 16th. He was sentenced to 15 years to life in prison. In 2000, California's 4th District Court of Appeal upheld his conviction. 2 separate state petitions for a writ of habeas corpus and a federal petition were filed over the next 3 years. All were denied. Roberts' case was investigated by the California Innocence Project, or CIP, at California Western School of Law in 2003, and ultimately, he petitioned for DNA testing. In 2013, lawyers for Roberts asked for a new trial. They said that DNA testing on the wristband of the watch near Cheek's body showed that Cheek had been murdered. According to the petition, A mixture of DNA from at least 3 males was found on the wristband, and that the major contributor of the DNA was Harris's son, Googie Harris Jr. Harris Sr. and Roberts were excluded from the mixture. Also mentioned in the petition was that the rope found near Cheek's body was orange and black, the same kind that Elder Harris used for his dog. An unidentified strand from the rope found at the scene was consistent with the rope found at Harris's home. The CIP had DNA testing done on the watch, Terry's fingernail scrapings, and a rope that was used to strangle Terry over the next decade. Despite no DNA evidence being found on the rope, DNA evidence indicates that the watch belongs to one of Terry's family members who had a motive to kill her. The DNA under her fingernails is not Horace's, but that of an unidentified man. In June 2013, CIP filed a petition for a writ of habeas corpus on behalf of Horace. More than a year later, the Honorable David A. Gunn denied Roberts' habeas, saying that Roberts did not completely undermine the entire structure on which the prosecution is based, and that the evidence did not always show that he was innocent. In denying the petition, Judge Gunn said that if he had used a lesser burden for material false evidence, he would have probably given a new trial, because the evidence surely raises the specter of reasonable doubt. After habeas petition was denied, CIP asked lawmakers to lower the standard by which new evidence can reverse a conviction. CIP asked for additional DNA testing on items from the crime scene, while lawmakers were considering reducing the standard to be in line with the majority of the rest of the states. Judge Gunn granted additional testing in June 2016. In September 2016, the California legislature changed the standard for introducing new evidence. In 2017, the California Department of Justice Crime Laboratory in Riverside received the crime scene evidence. The California Innocence Project presented the results and the case to Riverside District Attorney after the testing concluded in early 2018. In May 2018, Justin Brooks, CIP Director, and CIP Attorney Michael Samanchik asked Riverside County District Attorney Mike Hestrin to re-examine Roberts' case. Hestrin turned the case over to Conviction Review Unit, which he established in 2015 after being elected as district attorney. The Department of Justice initiated an investigation. On October 2, 2018, the DA agreed to reverse Horace Roberts' conviction. Roberts was picked up from prison the following day and driven to San Diego by the California Innocence Project staff. Roberts was reunited with his family in South Carolina a week later as the DA's investigation continued. All charges against Roberts were dismissed by the Riverside District Attorney on October 12. Finally, on October 15, 2018, the Riverside District Attorney agreed to a finding of factual evidence in Roberts' case. According to Section 1485.55 of the California Penal Code, Horace Roberts is eligible for state compensation. Under the law, inmates who had been wrongfully convicted, such as Roberts, can receive $140 per day for every day they spent incarcerated. Strangely enough, the prosecutor's closing statements on July 16, 1999, which said, "What is more compelling than Horace Roberts' watch that was found next to this murdered woman's body? Yes, there's nothing more compelling than that," was utterly and entirely untrue.